Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Thar, board certified internal medicine physician, and I am here tonight, as usual. I'm on a mission to help women reverse prediabetes and type 2 diabetes naturally. So every night I come on and I will give you a few tips that you can actually implement into your lifestyle to get your blood sugars controlled and to hopefully move towards reversing prediabetes and type 2 diabetes naturally. When I say naturally, I mean no medications. We want to avoid medications. So ultimately, medications, even though they will work temporarily, they are band aids. They don't get your blood sugar down permanently if you're not addressing the root cause. So it's really, really important for me as a physician to spread the word that you can, in fact, reverse prediabetes and type 2 diabetes naturally. And you can do that before it's too late because we all know that type 2 diabetes and prediabetes is nothing to take lightly. We know ultimately the longer your blood sugars are high, the more damage it does to your internal organs. And so we want to address that early, but we want to do it naturally and safely. So that's why I'm here tonight. I am here to help everyone, to empower everyone with the knowledge I need to do that. So tonight I wanted to discuss, one of the big issues that I find among the women who I work with is they don't eat. And that's one of their biggest frustrations, right? Because your blood sugars are high, your A1C is going up, and they're mystified, right? I'm not eating. I don't eat breakfast. I barely eat throughout the day. Why is this happening? So I want to help everyone understand why that's happening and what you can do about it. And I'm not here just as a physician, okay? I'm not here from a pedestal as a physician. I am here as someone who has had the same struggles as well. I'm someone who's lost 40 pounds. I was insulin resistant. I was on the verge of starting blood pressure medications. I had high cholesterol. Even though I was a doctor, I got that same lecture from my primary care doctor, and I decided to make changes. I've basically kept that up for the last 5 years, and I've decided as a physician to take a stand and to empower other women to do the same thing. Okay. So hey, let's jump right into it. And if you guys want to add any comments, if you have any questions as we move through, please feel free to do that. I love all the interaction. I love all the enthusiasm. And I appreciate you guys for being here tonight. So let's go forward. So I have a few notes. So I'm looking off to the side. I'm looking at my notes because I want to cover everything. So the big thing here, one of the biggest issues I see is not eating. A lot of women, we're very busy. Okay, we're busy putting everyone else before ourselves. So we skip breakfast. We don't eat till 10 to 12 o'clock in the day. And I want to say that very likely that is contributing, because what you'll find is that you are making it the best environment, an ideal environment for hormonal dysfunction when we're actually not eating. So getting your morning breakfast in, making sure it's healthy, is also critical to keeping your hormones balanced. The reason when you don't eat in the morning that negatively affects your body is, let's say by the evening you haven't eaten till 12 noon, you finally eat something. You might eat something very big and something very carb heavy. You might start to have, overwhelming cravings. When we don't eat, our body knows that, okay? And our body starts to pump hormones out that tell us you are not eating, something is going on, there's some kind of an emergency. So it starts to pump out stress hormones. And those stress hormones make us eat the wrong things. So in an effort of self-preservation, your body wants you to eat carbohydrate heavy meals, meals that are high in sugar, because when we're in an emergency, our bodies need that sugar to get out of that emergency, right? Fight or flight. So that's when we tend to eat more carb heavy foods. we tend to go for very high fat foods, the wrong fat foods. And then that is when we start to have problems with fluctuating blood sugar. Okay, so that is why eating throughout the day, making sure you're nourishing your body, is important. One of the most important steps that you can take to actually suppress those hormones that confuse your body. So that is the first step that we need to make. And you'll hear this repeatedly. I encourage everyone to eat. Okay. So don't, intermittent fasting, you have to understand how to do intermittent fasting properly. I'm not saying it's 100% wrong to intermittent fast, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can get into trouble with intermittent fasting. So be careful about fasting, especially if you have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, because in the long run, it can make things worse. So that's one of the big things. Now, the second big reason why your blood sugars are high, even though you feel that you're not eating that much, is the foods that that are marketed as healthy might not necessarily be healthy for someone with insulin resistance. So the foods that I'm going to list that are potentially harmful and drive up the blood sugars is, let's say, a granola bar, for example. That's marketed as healthy, right? And the reality is it's loaded with sugar. It's loaded with sugar, with processed ingredients. And so that granola bar, even though it's just a small bar, you might even grab a granola bar for breakfast or for lunch as a quick snack on the go. But those granola bars are loaded with tons of sugar. And so that is going to push your blood sugar up. So even though you didn't have a lot of food, and even though the label says it's healthy, in reality, it is not a healthy option for you. So, for example, let's say you have a Greek yogurt, which is a healthy option, with some granola on it, and you're feeling proud of yourself, right? This is not going to hurt my blood sugars. And then you check your blood sugars a couple hours later and it's through the roof. That is why those granola bars are not healthy for people who are struggling with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. So that's important to know. It's important, again, to go to look at those labels, to look at the sugar content in there. Other foods that can get you into trouble with your blood sugar, so even though it's not a lot or perceived as healthy, are fruit. Fruit are healthy, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to having insulin resistance, you have to be really careful about what fruit you select. I usually say in the beginning phases of reversing prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, you really, really, really want to make sure that you are sticking with low glycemic fruit. The higher glycemic fruits are reserved when you're out of that window, when you're out of the danger zone and you've successfully reversed your numbers. Then you can liberalize to more high glycemic fruit. But when you are pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, you want to go for fruit that have high water content and lower sugar content. So the ideal fruits to eat are your berries. You can't go wrong with berries. So your strawberries, your blueberries, your raspberries, though those are low glycemic fruit that won't get you into as much trouble as, let's say, mango. It is mango season, everyone. So I know some of you might even have your mango trees in the backyard, but mango is the wrong option. So that might be one of the reasons why your blood sugar is spiking. You might be having that mango smoothie or the banana smoothie. And in reality, those are not the right choice for when you're in the midst of struggling with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. Now, in addition to fruit, the smoothies. So smoothies are marketed as healthy, but be careful, because if it's loaded with tons of fruit in there, then you can get yourself into trouble. So stick to your berries in your smoothie and don't do multiple fruit. Stick to one selection of a berry. So whether you put some strawberries in there. So that's also important. Now, the other issue is that when you're not eating enough and we have those cravings, right? We tend to go for things that we know aren't good. And so, for example, we're going for low volume, very low volume, very small um, type of foods with very high sugar content. So some of you might not be eating candy, but for those of you who eat that piece of candy in the middle of the day and you say, hey, it's just a small piece of candy, it's really not going to do anything. Well, if you look at the sugar content in that candy, it is enough for the whole day. So the sugar in that small amount of candy has probably wiped out half of the amount of sugar, if not all of the amount of sugar that you should have eaten for the whole day as someone with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. So just remember, you have to pay attention to the added sugar. So candy, I know a lot of you avoid candy already, but even that small piece of candy that you think you can get away with can mess up your whole day, can mess up your whole blood sugar. Okay, so in this case, if you are actively trying to reverse prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, we can't afford those even small treats. Okay, we have to stay away from it. Now, other foods that we might not think of immediately that are loaded with sugar: ketchup, barbecue sauce, salad dressings, the honey roasted nuts. We think those are healthy options, and nuts are healthy. Okay, that's where you get your good fats from. But when it's honey roasted, then that is where you can get into trouble. Again, if you are struggling with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, we want to stay away from those the added sugars, right? The added sugar. So if it is honey roasted nuts, you want to stay away from it. You want to go with more bland nuts. Almonds are a good choice. Sunflower seeds are a good choice, but you don't definitely want to make sure they're not honey roasted. So remember, look for hidden sugars in your food. If you find that your blood sugar is spiking and you just can't, you're eating salads, you feel like you're doing really well, check those labels and see how much added sugar is in there. You might be very surprised by what you find. The other issue that your blood sugars are spiking is not enough fiber in your diet. So fiber is also critical. Fiber is so underrated. The amount of fiber that you should be having for the day is about 25 grams of fiber every day. That will achieve gut health, but fiber, especially soluble fiber, is critical. It acts as a buffer to prevent those rapid blood sugar spikes. So it allows your body to just slowly digest the food, slowly break down the food, and with that slow breakdown, you will have that very gradual rise in your blood sugar before it starts to come back down. So start to put more fiber into your diet by eating whole foods that are high in fiber. So you want to go for foods that are is not very processed. So, for example, you want to go for your kale, you want to go for arugula, you want to go for avocado that's high in fiber. You want to add some flax seeds to your foods or your salads. You want to make sure that your diet is rich in fiber because that is going to be your best friend when you are trying to control those blood sugars. Now, other reasons that you will find that your blood sugars are high is just your day-to-day life, and we can't get away from the stresses or the burdens that we have from day to day, but maybe by implementing some habits and boundaries into your life, then you'll also be able to combat the high blood sugars. So stress is a known trigger for high blood sugars. The reason, again, is your body, when you're stressed, your body senses you're in an emergency. And so your body triggers your liver to start putting more glucose into your blood. And that glucose is what's going to spike your blood sugar up because you already have a problem managing sugar in your blood. So we have to find a way to deal with stress, to cope with stress. And so in order to cope with stress, you have to make sure you're getting enough sleep, you're hydrating, you're taking time to meditate, you're taking time to breathe, to do breathing exercises. So you want to make sure that you're carving out time for yourself to de-stress, okay? Because the more stress you're under, the higher those blood sugars will run. Some people actually see the blood sugars highest in the morning. They didn't eat anything the night before, but your blood sugar is sky high in the morning. Well, the reason for that, again, is called the dawn effect. And that is when your cortisol spikes during the night, and that cortisol tells your liver to pump out more glucose. So stress management is really important. There's many different strategies. With the women who I work with, we discuss the different strategies that we use. So it's really important to manage your stress and to get enough sleep. Now, other issues that might trigger or might exacerbate high blood sugars is sedentary. You're not doing much with your body. When you don't do much with your body isn't going to use the glucose that's there. So, simple things like taking a walk after you eat, so take 3 walks during the day, or take a long walk in the morning, whether it's 30 minutes to an hour walk in the morning or the evening. But you want to implement walking into your day-to-day life. It's amazing how much walking can do for your blood sugars. So you definitely want to make sure you're fitting time to walk after your meals to help with those blood sugar spikes. What you're doing is you're activating your body again. Your body senses you're active, that you need to start using that glucose. And so your muscles will start to utilize glucose more effectively. And that is where you won't struggle as much with those blood sugar spikes. The other thing is muscle. Again, muscle is so underrated. I'll tell you one of the biggest challenges that I see among women over 40, me being one of them, is that as we age, we lose muscle. That process the fancy word for it is called sarcopenia. After the age of 30, we start to lose muscle. And sometimes that is actually why we start to feel different. Our body is losing muscle, and as a result, we're losing a little bit of our metabolism, right? So that's when we hit that 40, that magic 40 age, and we say, I just don't feel like myself. I'm feeling fatigued. I feel like I just don't have any energy. That is a part of where you're losing your metabolism piece by piece by piece until it gets to a head after you hit age 40. So one of the biggest things you can do for your body is to push back on that process. Okay, it's a natural process, but now we want to push back. We want to take back our bodies. And the way you're going to do that is through resistance training. So that's where you want to start using dumbbells. You want to start using resistance bands. You want to start using your muscles so that your muscles can use that glucose. Muscles are like a sponge for glucose. The more muscle you have, the better those blood sugars will be. So that is also a critical part, often very underrated. So that is one big change that you can make, is start challenging your muscles by doing resistance bands or doing dumbbells. So that's also critical. Walking is huge. So that is pretty much it in a nutshell. Okay. Those are just some things that contribute to why the blood sugars are high, and just some small steps that you can take. To summarize, make sure you're checking the labels of your food. Make sure there's no hidden sugars in the foods. Culprits can be things like ketchup, barbecue sauce, salad dressing, or those honey roasted nuts. Those are just a few. Granola bars are also another culprit. So cereals are another thing. If you tend to eat cereal in the morning or throughout the day, cereals are notorious for having sugar in there or hidden sugar. So it's really important to check your labels. And if you notice that you're getting sugar that you did not anticipate and did not know about, eliminate those. And remember, fruit can also be a culprit. Fruit is definitely a healthier option, but you have to be careful about which fruits. Remember to be active, walk after meals, stress management, get sleep, and challenge your muscles. And so, with that, those are the tips that I have for tonight. I've already noticed one comment. Felicia, thanks so much for leaving the comment. So I'm getting hungry in the morning, in the AM of the morning before breakfast. So if you are actually hungry in the morning, that is when you should eat. It's really important to listen to your body. So if you're hungry, you definitely need to eat, and you have to eat something decent. Okay. So if you're feeling hungry, you might even be a little behind the ball already. So eating is important. Make sure you're eating a meal with lots of protein. Again, you're going to hear that repeatedly from me. Make sure you have protein in there. Make sure you have lots of fiber as a part of your breakfast, and that will blunt any blood sugar spikes that you could have after breakfast. Make sure that you're eating lower carb, so you don't have a lot of heavy carbohydrates in there. So that was a good question. But if you are hungry, listen to your body and get the food into your body. Um, does anybody have any questions or any comments that they want to share? Any struggles that you're having? So with that, then I will close off. If you think you want, that if you need that one-on-one help, if you want to really get straight to the, you're welcome, Felicia. If you really want to get, okay, here's another. Is pineapple bad? And can I have juice? Okay. So pineapple is definitely on the high, what I say, higher glycemic index. So it's higher in sugar and it will spike your blood sugars. So pineapple might not be the best fruit for your blood sugars. So one of the things I always advise, if you can find a list of fruits with the glycemic index, that would be helpful for you. You want a lower glycemic index. So the number that you're looking for when it comes to glycemic index is under 55. The number is under 55. So, for example, one of the things I do for my clients is I make sure that in my nutrition guide, I have a list of fruits, and next to it, I have the number, what the glycemic index is, and that helps them select which fruits that they can have. So juice is not good either. Why I would say juice, if you want to reverse prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, juice is one of the first things that you need to cut out of your diet entirely. If you're going to have fruit, have the actual fruit. The juice is has no fiber in there. It's a sugar rush, basically. That goes straight into the bloodstream and shoots and causes your blood sugar to shoot up. So juice is one of the first things that I would cut out of the diet. Juice is not healthy. It's not healthy. If you want the healthier option, eat the fruit, but eat a low glycemic fruit. So the example that comes to mind right away are your berries. Um, so that was a very good question. Any other questions? You're welcome. All right. So as usual, I am here. If you do want that one-on-one, coaching, if you really want to get to the root of the problem from the get-go, avoid the trial and error, then that is why I started the Reverse Her Challenge. It's an initiative that's meant to get your blood sugar down in 90 days or less. So we're always celebrating the women who choose to come to be a part of this movement. Their A1Cs are going down, their body fat is going down, because we're getting to the root problem from the get-go. So if you ever want that one-on-one help and that very focused help, then you can book a discovery call, a free discovery call, to find out more about this movement and about how you can partake in it. So my link is in the bio. You can always book a call. It's there. Are there any other questions? Okay, awesome. All right, so with that, I will close off. I always appreciate your input, your participation. If there's ever any topics that you want me to cover, if there's any area of confusion, then please feel free to put it in the comments, and I can definitely make content that caters to that, as well as address that question directly with you. So with that, we'll close off, and I will see you tomorrow night. Have a good night, everyone.